Hey everybody, we're back with a new unit. We've moved to Unit 5. We're going to be doing a lot of geometry, totally new and different from what we've been doing. So today we're going to learn the midpoint formulas. So quickly write your I can statements, pretty basic. You're going to be able to apply them. For your vocabulary, you don't even have to write out this whole sentence, but you should at least read it. Midpoint formula is used to find the middle of a line segment, the point in the middle, the midpoint. The length of a line segment would be found using the distance formula. So please take a minute to copy those carefully. After copying, you may want to just draw this out quickly with me, just to make common sense out of it. If we're on an XY coordinate graph, I'm just going to put two random points on there. Here's a point and here's a point. Finding the midpoint of those would be finding the point that's, and I'm doing this freehand, it's basically halfway in between them, and you would actually be finding values in XY coordinate values. Finding distance from the red point to the red point would be finding that length. So obviously it's not just a horizontal or vertical length, so that's why it's such a kind of long looking formula. It'll help us find that horizontal distance. Example 1, let's find the midpoint of the line segment that has these endpoints. I would like for you to always use your common sense and just kind of do a quick sketch of where those points would be so we have a good idea if our answer is correct or not. -2, 1, this is going to be very basic sketching, and 4, 10. I can't even go up to 10, I didn't give myself room, but it's something in that area. If we're going to find the midpoint, we're looking for a point that should fall somewhere right in there. So if we get an answer of something like 20, -8, that's going to be wrong, so we should have a good idea of what our answer should be. Let's write out the formula. To find the midpoint, notice it's set up as points, x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That'll give you the x-coordinate, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2 will give you the y-coordinate. And notice it's in parentheses, written as coordinates. I didn't mention this in the vocabulary, but I hope you could have made some sense out of it. Midpoint is in the middle of 2 point values, so it's like taking an average, which totally explains where the formula comes from. Add them together and divide by 2. That's averaging them. So let's do that. Our points were -2, 1, and +4, +10. Call one of them x1, y1, one of them x2, y2. Obviously you can switch up this order, you just have to stick to the same order for your addition and subtraction. So here we go. X1 and y1 is, x1 and x2 is -2 plus 4. We're going to divide that by 2. That would give us order of operations 2 over 2 is 1. Our y values will be 1 plus 10. I'm going to divide that by 2. 11 over 2. Ta-da, fraction or decimal, big deal, 5.5. These are your x values. These are your y values. So we just found the midpoint, 1, 5.5. Before you just jump and go to the next one, let's go up here and see if 1, 5.5 makes sense. Again, this is a bad sketch, but it's between -2 and +4, so 1 falls in place, and between +1 for a y value and +10 for another y value, a 5.5 sounds actually halfway in between those. Imagine that. Now for the one that looks super long and yucky, it's not so bad. We're going to find the distance between 2 points. I use the same one, so I'll try to draw a graph a little lower this time. -2, 1 would be right in here somewhere. 4, 10 would be way up here somewhere. We are going to find the distance, so that should be a number, not a point, a length, a number. So if you call this your first point, whoops, and this your second point, and again you can switch those up if you want, we're going to plug it into the distance formula. It is long, be careful. I'm going to write it this one time, but then after that I'm going to give you some hints on how to just fill it in. It's kind of like memorizing it without really memorizing it. It's one big long radical sign. All right, a good way to always fill this guy in and not make mistakes is draw the big radical, draw some blank parentheses with a minus in them, and put a plus in between. And then technically, the x's come first in the formula, but as long as you subtract x's in one parentheses and subtract y's in the other, you are fine. So I'm going to go with who I specifically called x2 and x1. So I'm going to write -2 minus 4, those are my x values, and my y values are 1 minus 10. You must stick to the same order. If you go -2 minus 4, you must go 1 minus the 10. You can't switch it up to 10 minus 1. Let's continue with our work. -2 minus 4 is a -6. That'll need to be squared. 1 minus 10 is a -9. That will need to be squared. Use your calculator, use your head. Comes a positive 36 and a positive 81, still under the radical. If I did my math right, that becomes 117, and you are allowed to give decimal answers here. The square root of 117 is approximately 10.8, so your distance is approximately 10.8 units. Again, let's use common sense. Let's go up here to our picture. Does that look like about 10.8 units? Obviously mine's a sketch, you can't really tell, but if you're getting an answer of something like 50 there, or an answer of 2, it's definitely less than 50 but more than 2 units. Also, if you get a negative answer, you have screwed up because distance cannot be negative. Okay, that's it for plugging into formulas. You just need to practice it. So you give this one a try, and in just a minute I'll show just the basic skeleton outline of the numbers you should have come up with. Here's the basics of my work. I did not show every single step, and I came out with the distance to be 19.7 units approximately. And by the way, if you don't know what those squiggles are, those are approximately, and I should have used that instead of equals because we did round. Let's just make sure that makes some kind of common sense. Please always just picture a graph. 6, -8 would be down in here somewhere. -210 would be way up here somewhere. They're not that far away from each other in that direction, but they're pretty far from each other in that direction. But still, around 20 units, that's a valid answer. If we were getting something like 2, that would be wrong, or if we were getting a real high number, that would be wrong. So this could certainly be a distance of about 19 units. All right, read example 4 carefully because I'm not going to give you any hints right now, but many of you can totally tackle this. Having a picture of an idea of where the points are would certainly come in handy. There's a couple ways you can figure it out. You don't have to do it the same way as someone else. Just follow the directions and let me know tomorrow what kind of answer you've gotten. All right, to recap everything, it's basically plugging in. Plugging in is another word for substitute. So can you use the midpoint formula by substituting in numbers? Can you use the distance formula by substituting in numbers? And the biggest deal is to know what to do when. Please, please always use a sketch of your graph to make sure your answers make sense. And the usual, if you're still not quite sure what's going on with the basic examples, please rewatch the video and take your time working through them. Show all your steps. Watch the additional videos that we post, or come in and get some help, or find anyone else who can help you. Have a great day, guys.